Hello and what is up guys, Rye here and welcome back to some more automation and BeamNG.Drive. Today, of course you guys can already tell, we are creating ourselves a very cheap, very affordable small hatchback from the mid-late-ish 2000s. This is going to be based off of a Toyota Yaris. It's going to be, of course, a manual transmission. Slightly sporty-ish, because I always like sporty cars, right? So first off, we are choosing our panel material. In this case, we're going to do steel. I might change it to partial aluminum if I can't get the weight down. This thing's supposed to weigh in and around the low 2,000 pounds. This is a very small four-door hatchback. Monocoque, of course, steel chassis. It might be HS steel. I can't find a lot of information on what the Yaris would have had for a chassis or panel material. I'm assuming steel with some plastic and aluminum probably built in. It's probably a mix of everything. It's only a front transverse, of course, engine, McPherson strut, and it's got torsion beam rear. That's what the Toyota Yaris has, so that's what we're going to have. We're going to make a new engine here as well. Inline 4, all aluminum, dual inverted cam, 4 valve. And now this is going to be similar to the Toyota Yaris engine. Not an exact copy, because I don't like exact copies, but this is going to be still a 1.5 liter. We're going to lower both the stroke and the board down just a bit. Not a 4 liter. Not a 4 liter. That was an accident. 1.5 liter. 1.499 probably. Yeah, that's fine. All aluminum probably is what it would have. We'll do no VVL. We don't need that. All cast internals. I might go for low friction will help us on the miles per gallon section of things. VVT all cams. No turbos. We're going to do a safe multi-point fuel injection system. Nice. And a bit cheaper than direct injection. This is 2007. This is not 2017. Direct injection wasn't overly popular back in the day. We're going to do just a short cast exhaust. Short cast exhaust. Leave it off. No valves right now. We're going to go high flow. No, just a 3-way cat. And then reverse flow. Reverse flow. I might be able to change it one to straight through just because this is a pretty efficient car in the first place. There's not going to be a lot of emissions coming from it. It's a small engine, of course. Right now, off the bat, 87 horsepower, 93 torque. That's almost where we want to be, but I still want this car to achieve about 35, 40 mpg average. We're going to increase the compression. We're using not all of our octane. We're on regular gas. Yep, we're using almost all of our octane. Okay. We're going to change this right now to the low friction cast. That gives us 24% thermal efficiency here. We could also go to direct injection. That'll be much more efficient use, but I just don't think it's realistic to ask of that. Come on here. I'm actually making sounds when I probably shouldn't be. We don't need bypass valves. No, we don't need that. We can probably go straight through on one of the mufflers because yeah, there's not tons of emissions anyways, and the sound is still quite under 35 loudness. We are using just about all of our octane, 91 of it. This thing does have an okay amount of horsepower and torque. It's probably gonna be a bit on the slow side compared to something like a Yaris. That's okay. We can do... We're getting 90 horse, 93 torque with a 2-inch exhaust, but if we go to 1.75... 32, this brings down to 24... 1.5-inch exhaust, we can be at 23.1. Very similar. We can go tubular exhaust probably to get a bit more performance out of it. It definitely does not have a... It probably, you know, I'd imagine having a cast intake like this. We're using pretty much all of our octane still. 90 horsepower, 93 torque. Not terrible numbers. A little on the low side. We'll get through the rest for now, and we'll see where we're at the end here. This is the body here. It is very similar to a Yaris body. If not, it is the Yaris body. I'm not too sure. But it is a pretty reasonable little cute economy kind of thing. It's not going to be a Yaris clone. It'll have similar elements to the Yaris. So front-wheel drive, a manual 5-speed like a Yaris would have had. Open differential. What other kind of differential is there? I don't know. Radial. Probably hard, long life. 185s all the way around sounds like a pretty normal engine size. And we'll just do a little bit bigger tires. And we'll actually face smoke a little bit dinky. Even though this is a pretty dinky car, that's okay. Let's max on the rear. Okay, that's fine. Steel wheels, solid discs front, pistons is fine. I'll keep it as the biggest brakes for now. We'll probably change it. One piston in the back. We'll just do 10 inches, 12 inches, or 10 and 10. Sure. Fully clad for that fuel economy and cooling flaps as well. 5-seater. Okay, that's fine. Standard and basic, I think. A nice cheap interior here, hydraulic, and then full best safeties if we can get it, please. and then just the basic cheapest suspension possible due to a slight, just a normal tune. I think we're at 2850 pounds, so we are a bit on the porky side, and fuel economy is suffering because of that. If we go to an AHS steel here and a partial aluminum, which is a bit more realistic, or even light HL steel, we're at the 2700 pound mark, which is 34 mpg average, which is pretty close. We could also just lower down to basic interior and like a 2+3 seating. Save some more weight, 2500 pounds and 35, a bit more realistic for the miles per gallon. We can even probably take it to standard safeties. Safeties, is that a thing? Standard safety. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we want to be. So we are around 2400 pounds on the porkier side for a Yaris, definitely heavier than a Yaris would have been. Slower 0 to 60 probably as well, and pretty much a good average for the 1.5 liter engine available in North America. I think the average is like 40 on the highway and 34 in city, so 36 average is at, I think, pretty much in the middle of that. Definitely not a bad thing overall. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and tune the engine, design the car, and tune the rest of the vehicle in a time lapse while I talk about that, and then we're going to drive this thing in BeamNG.Drive. So sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy. So we are starting to work on our 2000s, a very cheap hatchback. First things first, I do start off tuning the engine and a bunch of other stuff on the car. I do try to get the cost down and the weight down and the fuel economy up if I can. The biggest factors though for me were cost and fuel economy if possible. So I do change back to regular pistons, not low friction pistons because of the cost obviously. I do end up fluctuating up and down on the quality sliders on the engine as well to try to get some more efficiency out of it without breaking the bank, but it ends up that's not possible because we are still over budget. The 2007 Toyota Yaris, so it sold for about 12,000 or so, I think it's US dollars, in 2007 or so, and our car is going to sell for about 15,000 or so. So our car is a bit more expensive, but it's got a bit more performance, I want to say. Starting with the front end of the actual design of the car, I do make it very similar to the Toyota Yaris. Biggest differences being I do work on the bottom fascia, add some more bars and stuff, and then of course the top grille isn't exactly the same, but you can't get it really exactly the same because unless I start mixing and matching some grills, which I could do, but I want to have this thing just a bit more unique, and I think a bit better looking than the Toyota Yaris as well. Actually, of course, getting some stock boring wheels is essential to making a very, very good cheap car. Changing the color to a bright orange just for you guys and for the thumbnail. In BeamNG.Drive, I'm gonna make this thing dark black and drive this thing around with a black car. I don't drive too much black cars, so it'll be pretty cool to see. Having the exact same taillights as I do headlights, curving around the body just a bit similar to the real Yaris, and then playing around with the back end just a bit more. It is pretty similar. I do end up on having a name. This is a Maven branded vehicle, as you can tell by the badge. This is the 2007 Maven Marvel GE, or General Economy. Sure, why not? That sounds like a good trim level. It is Maven's very, very low-end budget kind of subcompact, almost a city car, subcompact city car-ish. I do add some detail at the back end here, adding some badges and stuff, and then refix the headlights and add some turn signals under that as well. Overall, in front of us is a 2007 Maven Marvel GE. Alright guys, so the car is complete. In front of us is the, of course, Maven Marvel GE, or General Economy, generic economy car, because that's pretty much what this is. Designed pretty much based off of a Toyota Yaris. Has some Suzuki Swift vibes as well, from like a mid-2000s Suzuki Swift, which is also an awesome car. 102 horsepower, up in, I think 90-something or whatnot torque. It's got 96.5 pound-feet of torque, so not the most powerful car, a bit weaker than the actual Toyota Yaris, and slightly worse fuel economy as well. The Yaris is, I think it was 40 highway US MPG and about 34 highway, so we're getting 35 average, which is pretty close to that. The price is a bit more than a Yaris at $17,000 in 2012 dollars, or about, I think it was about 15 or 14,000, so a couple $1,000 more expensive than an actual Yaris of the time. But we do have the advantage of having a much cooler looking car, I hope. I don't know. It looks very similar to a Yaris. Biggest differences, of course, are these extra vents down here, which I think make the car look a bit, just a little bit sportier. It is quite a plain vehicle overall, and I think that adds a bit to it. The side, there's nothing to do for the side. This car is just it's a cheap car. 1.5 liter 4-cylinder, pretty small engine. I mean, not terribly small for if it was a European car or an Asian car, but for North America, it's a pretty small engine. Very plain back end. Actually, I had a door handle here, it just disappeared, but that's okay. I had a door handle here, like a hatch. Added a little bit of details to the back, just add some flavor to the car. Top, of course, is a very plain car, very plain all the way around. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the car. So what we're gonna do now is take the car into BeamNG.Drive and see how this thing drives on a track. Yes, we're going to see how this thing drives on a track in BeamNG.Drive. So I'll see you guys in just 1 second. So finally, we're in BeamNG.Drive. This is the Hirochi Raceway short racetrack for lower horsepower vehicles like this one, 100 horsepower or so. Before we start the race, we're going to take a quick look at the vehicle. So starting at the back here, you can see the car transfer pretty well. There's actually no GE badge over here for whatever reason, but overall the car, yeah, it looks similar to a Suzuki Swift and a Toyota Yarisesque if they had a child. A very handsome looking child from the mid-2000s, of course. We're going to call him Marvel, because it's the Maven Marvel. I'm pretty happy with how it looks in BeamNG.Drive. Looks like a cheap econo box in a nice black paint job. So this is, again, Hirochi Raceway. We are doing 2 laps of this, going for a record, of course. We probably won't get a record. I definitely messed up my first launch there, but I tried to launch it in second at that time, but a little bit of a slow start. Still, this car is capable of 100 kilometers an hour, so good on that. Good for him. Good for him. Is it a him? I'm not too sure. I would really, we're gonna break a little early there for whatever reason. I'd love to make a modern one of these soon, maybe the next couple days. But a WRC version, so similar to the is it the Yaris GRM? With a very small Toyota all-wheel drive one. The 3-cylinder just came out. This thing probably have a 4-cylinder and probably turbo because everything's turbo, but be a little small hot hatch boy. But a rallycross version, so all-wheel drive, you know, basically meant for WRC. Now the only thing I didn't change about this car when I actually designed it, I didn't think it needed too much changing, but definitely it appears now could have used some changing, is the gearing. Because the gearing is definitely a little bit short on the gears, and of course longer gearing doesn't help us with the MPG as well. So right now on this racetrack, we can get up to 5th gear on the racetrack, and our top speed is kind of low. We can probably have a slightly higher top speed, and we're missing this turn just a bit here. Slightly longer gearing would have been probably good for our fuel economy. We could probably got in the high 30s instead of the mid 30s. We're going to live off the track of this. I did not break enough, that's okay. And hit that cone, it sounds like we're hitting a trash can. First lap finishing around 1 minute 30 seconds, which is pretty good, and not terrible for a first lap, honestly. I did a few practice runs, so I wasn't terrible at this car. Right now I'm doing terrible, but that's okay. Stay on the road, please, Rye. Come on. Come on, little Marvel, you can do it. Now, we are using hard, long life tires. This is... We've very bad grip. It just feels like we have bad grip, but probably also due to the 165mm wide tires. Doesn't help at all. If we had wider front tires in this thing, it'd be a lot more capable. It actually is kind of fun the way you toss into corners. There's a bit of body roll for sure, but that's just the nature of a really cheap car that's quite small. And like it's fairly heavy for its size, weighing around 2,375 pounds, almost 2,400 pounds, whatever. I think that's what, 1,100 kilograms. A little bit on the heavier side for sure. 4th gear now, 100 kilometers an hour, coming out to this long-ish straightaway, breaking down and turning in. We're just spinning there the whole turn. That's okay though. And so far, looks like we're on track to get a fairly good lap time. Anything under 3 minutes, I think, is okay for these real slow cars. Okay, let's turn nice. Oh god, there's the cone right in the middle. Oh, we're gonna dodge that. So we're gonna get under 1 minute 30 for the second lap here. I'm gonna just do a free run after this, probably in this map, because this is a nice little fun car drive around in. 126.3, which is pretty good overall. Finishing with a 258.2, which is not as good as our Spitfire Sport, which was a K car that was lighter than this thing. It did have less horsepower, it was lighter, but it was geared towards being sporty. This thing is a very stock car with regular hard long life tires, so nothing really good at all. We're gonna do free roam and just not crash because that's not great. Yeah, so far, honestly, I think this thing has been pretty fun to drive for a cheap car. Costing around, in 2007, it would have been around 14,000, 15,000, which is pretty cheap. costing about $17,012. So as like a, I don't know, be like a $20,000 car new. So a little on the expensive side. But this is a this is an American compact car that's designed after a Japanese car, I guess. My idea behind this, I mean, someone wanted me to do a Toyota Yaris, and I thought, well, you know, I got to make it somewhat related to my brands and stuff, right? So this is a Maven, basically Yaris. It could have been a rebadged Yaris, basically just a compliance car. A little squirrely there. Basically just a compliance car to comply with emissions, probably, and fuel economy standards, because this thing is pretty good at doing both those things. Not the best on emissions, because I think we are missing. I think we did straight through mufflers, which is not the best amount. We were just scraping the bottom there. I want to see if this thing can get up to top speed. I think it's geared to probably, I want to say 130 is my guess. Maybe 140. We're going to go straight here. I'm not sure where this takes us, but we're going straight. Oh, nice little highway there. Ooh. So third takes us to 90 or so kilometers an hour. Fourth is taking us to 120. So I'd say about 170 kilometers an hour. Not a terribly slow car, honestly, in the top end. 0-60 does not feel like 11 seconds. Get this nice and gently here. Doing much better on these streets, I think, driving around than I am on the track. Less pressure, you know. But I think I definitely want to make a WRC Maven Marvel, all-wheel drive, probably, or maybe even front-wheel drive. A front-wheel drive WRC car? No, that's not as fun. Back on the track here. Like right here, you can tell. It just doesn't have the front grip to compete. But once it catches, it's not terrible. Like, it caught there near the end. And it just sort of brought us back into place nice and slowly. It wasn't terrible, but these hard long life tires are definitely, we're going to go around here again, are definitely... Oh boy, that was close. Oh, the brakes are so mediocre. If we actually go back to the start here. If we're just doing a 0-60 right now, it's definitely probably around 10 seconds. Maybe that doesn't feel like it though. It feels pretty quick. See this turn right here. I just want to see if we can get us straight away for a second here. And we're gonna brake from 100 kilometers an hour. That's not terrible. That wasn't too bad. But it's definitely at the point where the tires start slipping, and you know the lack of width in the front, you know, is making it quite a bit harder to actually brake here. Not enough traction, I think. The brakes are definitely locking up though at that point. But I think like a sporty little version of this thing would be fun. We're gonna bring it all the way around here. So a pretty fun car overall. Not the slowest car I've ever made, surprisingly. That goes to the 1970s Eco car that I made, which is incredibly slow, but that's okay. Definitely a nice, relaxing little car design. I do plan a WRC version of this on modern WRC versions, since we completely upgraded front end and whole design, probably a different body as well. Overall, 10 out of 10 would. Suzuki Swift Toyota Yaris again. Thank you for recommending this. Little design to me is definitely fun to do. And yeah, so anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'll see you next time.